I'm rewatching this show by myself and I'm kicking myself because of all of those things that were going on. Why didn't I put this on YouTube? This was 2015, before the travel influencer boom, right? Before everyone had access to everywhere, before we had pocket drones. I have 3 drones back here. Let's do it now, but let's do it with the new lens. What has changed? Do these destinations still exist? So let's say we took a hike and we made it to the summit and we see these beautiful panoramic views. Do you first say, oh, this is so beautiful, I need to take a video? Oh, this is so beautiful, I need to take a photo? Or do you say, oh, this is so beautiful, I need to write it down? Well, I've always been a person, and there's evidence of this since I was a little girl. I say, oh, this is so beautiful, I need to take a video, and I need to tell you about it on the video. So I think in video. The mistake is when I was producing Beyond the Usual, I had a sweet distribution deal, but being a broadcast journalist, thinking I make professional video and getting a distribution deal for content that I was producing, why would I ever put it on YouTube? This was my mindset at the time. So I'm not discounting that craft. I'm just laying the foundation for the mindset that I had for why I did not put this show on YouTube. And as we're going back, looking at the archives, I'm like, this would have killed in YouTube. At least in my opinion. I would have totally watched her, younger me, in 2015 and 2016, etc., doing these galavans, doing these travel guides, these travel logs around the world. And so as we review the archive and as I see the quality of the video, we are going to do that here and now. We're going to rewatch my very first travel show, Beyond the Usual. Before we go there, I need to give you just a little more background, because why would you think that you could produce your own TV show? Well, because I did it before. At a particular outlet, Turner Sports, where we covered mostly NBA basketball and also some college basketball at the time. And we also did college football and Braves baseball. These were the golden years, I tell you. I worked as a sound producer, which means I got all the interviews, and I also worked as a features reporter. And as a features reporter, I would be sent on some assignments to cover players' foundations, or charity events, the fluffy stuff, which I very much appreciated. I thought there was lots of stories to be told about the humanization of athletes at that time. And if you look today, athletes have humanized themselves, taken the power to tell their own stories and their own narratives. But at the time, we were the gatekeepers. So when I would go on these featured assignments, we would come back, we do the story that was meant to be on air. But there was a lot of water cooler talk that happened, cool stuff that some of these athletes did behind the scenes that never quite made air. And I remember pitching some more lifestyle series and content and segments and reports to the powers that be, both on .com and for broadcast. And I was immediately shut down. I said, I know that there's something here. So I created a video series called NBA Front Page, and I produce episodes weekly. And now I'm having like some of the anxiety come back of when I produced this series, because I went to the powers that be. I was already in the door, but nobody was just handing me a show. And I was working my butt off. And I remember several times in my career coming at a crossroads of like, I'm working so hard and I'm not getting an opportunity and nobody's going to give it to me. I just have to make the opportunity. So here I am. I have this idea for NBA Front Page. I remember the tagline, precisely, the headlines around the association that you really want to know. So I would make these episodes every week, but the production day was so stressful for me because I had to always every week rebuild the set, because I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, so I couldn't just have a permanent set with the camera up and the lights up. So I remember, I'm getting sweaty now because I would be so sweaty setting up the set, getting ready to go, having the script, being in producer mode, and then having to go into the bathroom, put on some makeup to get camera ready. This is pre-filters and stuff. Now, a little secret is that sometimes you can just film blank face, just can film with no makeup on and put on a filter on CapCut. And there you go. After putting on my hair and makeup, I remember being sweaty, and then I would have to get into presenter mode. And I did not have a teleprompter, so I had to memorize the script. And of course I would be taking take after take and just frustrated with myself, eating my words, making myself slow down, but I would get through it. We broke several stories, and At one point, TMZ Sports actually tried to hire me. And if you recall back in the day when we thought of TMZ, it was very tabloidy. I'm a sophisticated journalist. I could never. And I rejected that offer. But I say that story so that you understand my mindset. If I did it before, I could do it again. So this is the audacity that I had to say, hey, I can build a travel show. One caveat. NBA Front Page was with a static camera, a script, in a studio-like situation. Building a travel show, one-man band style, run and gun style, because I did most of them on press trips, is another beast and another animal. But here's where the opportunity comes in.
Live from News Channel 36, this is Charlotte Today, featuring Dayvee Sutton.
Once a week, I had on that show a segment called Beyond the Usual. The foundation for that show was things around the city, the Queen City, if you will, because I was in Charlotte, North Carolina. And that is the seed for the travel show called Beyond the Usual. That was a premise. We're going to go to destinations around the world. And you may know about this destination, you may not know about the destination, but the thing I'm trying to discover along the way is something that was beyond the usual. So the opportunity came where I was invited to the British Virgin Islands by Life Proof, and I had the Canon G7X in my pocket, so I was locked and loaded. Y'all know the best vlogging camera in the market in the mid-early 2000 aughts was that Canon G7X. That was such a good camera, and I had one, so I was locked and loaded. Then I was approached by Amazon, and at that time we knew Amazon. We were already getting our things from Amazon. I don't know if we were getting our groceries yet from Amazon, and we definitely didn't have our video because this was the launch of Amazon Prime Video, and that was the whole name. I think they actually were just calling it Prime Video. And then I remember still while working with them, they said, you must call it Amazon Prime Video. I was one of the initial production companies / creators that they asked, if you have any content or if you're producing a show, we'd like to invite you to our program for distribution. So now we have the opportunity of a press trip. We got that camera, the G7X, and we have distribution. Let's roll up our sleeves. Nobody's handing you a travel show, you little girl. You gotta go make it yourself. I was like, I've been in broadcast my whole life. Let's go make that travel show. So that's the audacity. That's the foundation. Let's rewatch my very first travel show called Beyond the Usual. Episode 1, first destination. It was split into 3 episodes. We'll watch them all here and then we'll go through them. All right, so here we go. Season 1, episode 1 in the British Virgin Islands. TRT is 6:34. Ooh, showing you a little body.
I never thought I was going to do. So let's take one more dip.
That opening sequence is a signature of what I like to do. I love a cold open in all my videos, so you'll start to see that as we start reviewing the body of my work. And I will always jump into the ocean. If you know me now, that is a thing, a signature thing that people do know me. I actually have a saying that there's only one way to get off the boat, and that's to jump in whenever we're talking about these luxury experiences. All of this was file video that I was given from the destination.
The BVI is long famed for its incomparable sailing conditions
This
and its pristine
stand-up part,
But did you know that
I
it's
pre-wrote
one of
it.
the best places in the
Like I
world
wrote
to
it a few
swim?
minutes
So
before
FYI
saying it.
here For a jam-packed day full of adventure.
And you see what I tried to do with the sound. I didn't realize for a long time that that was going to be a problem. So I spent a lot of time in post trying to fix that.
And so just a short ride away from the docks at Hodges Creek, we chartered a boat.
On a boat!
Oh my goodness. You see the Periscope. I used to do Periscope. Didn't want to do a podcast, but it was invited to join a couple of other travelers. And every week for, I think, a good 6 months, we did a Periscope live. And we actually had a big following. If we kept up with it and turned it into a podcast, I think we'd be a solid travel podcast, because we were talking to people all over the world and people found us and they were listening in. That was a good period.
And under the sea, it's full of surprises.
More context on like some of the video that you're seeing. So this is very much like travel vlog style, right? But this trip, we were given iPhones and life-proof cases, and we were to test them on all of these adventures in the British Virgin Islands. So I had never done anything like that. I've never filmed in the ocean. I've never filmed run and gun style. So I just remember just trying to capture as much content as I could, and you can see in how I edited it. It was just remembering to like put the camera on me, put the camera on other things. It's not terrible. It's very much travel vlog style, especially early era travel vlog style, but it just cracks me up that I was like, this is a sophisticated production, and it was accepted as at that time, and we did distribute on Amazon. I remember that being a cool moment, but also being freaked out.
To move on to the next adventure, we had to swim it, and I was kind of pooped, so I kayaked it over. No judgment here.
Can you believe that we swam? That's me in the kayak, kayaking over. But people swam over there, and I was not that strong of a swimmer.
It is absolutely breathtaking.
I do remember this. This was some of my favorite times.
It's the baths in the caves headed towards Devil's Bay. There's 7 acres of the national park.
I actually want to go back
massive
there.
Granite boulders as large as 40 feet in diameter. A walk inside the caves reveal huge rocks mysteriously stacked from high to low.
This is not for the folks who are claustrophobic.
The baths inside the caves are so magnificent. They're like art, and they're perfect for photo shoots, which everyone else seemed to have the same idea, so be sure to get there early to beat the crowds. From snorkeling to the hike through the caves, it's about a half-day excursion, so it's totally doable, even as a port stop for cruise ship passengers with some planning. Oh, and on our way back, we stopped at this historic fueling station, not for gas, but because it's so cute, and that means time for more pictures, selfies, and photo shoots. Because, you know, I gotta do it for the gram.
Okay, so episode 1, cute. You saw the credits. So I do remember on that trip we did have a dedicated photographer, so I got to use some of the video that they took of me and of other things from that trip. And then of course the aerials I was able to source from the destination. And yeah, let's move on to the second episode in this series. This is 3 minutes and 35 seconds. Oh, I remember this. Oh, I hated this so much. Let me see if I explain what happened.
Woohoo! Ah, I feel like a gladiator, and I'm actually really proud that I was able to do that. Now, I will be honest, if you told me ahead of time what was ahead of me, I would have opted out.
All right, I don't know if you got the gist of what happened. We were told that we were going on a tour through mangroves. I don't recall the part that said that we will leave the mangroves and kayak, paddleboard. I think the option was the kayak or paddleboard on the ocean. And for a while they had a trailing boat for us. Then you saw that the weather changed. Now, I had kayaked before, but you saw like kayaking in the ocean is very, very hard. And when we left the mangroves and went into the ocean, I hated every moment of it. Then the weather turned, and literally this was not captured except for just the B-roll that I threw in of like the waves going on. We were left on our own. The chase boat couldn't help us. The people who were on the paddle boards, they had gotten on the chase boat as soon as we went into the ocean. But those of us who were in the kayak, we had to kayak back, and it took probably an hour to go just a few feet because the waves were pushing us out. It just was so exhausting, and this is a core memory that I will never kayak on the ocean. I would never do it. Lakes, fine. Rivers, fine. Swamps, fine. Ocean, never. I hated it so much. We were the last two in the ocean. I think there was just one of the guides who was just kind of waiting and hoping that we came in and that we didn't have to be rescued. And everybody else went back and were enjoying the rest of their day. It was, oh, I hated that so much.
The British Virgin Islands are world famous for lush greenery, picturesque reefs, and powdery sandy beaches.
This is how it looks most of the time, though.
I call it the hashtag no filter needed zone.
Guys, this should have been on YouTube.
For unmatched views of all the islands, but it starts with putting away any fears of heights that you may have.
This is the TV presenter of me, so please forgive me. You're going to see that for a while.
Up next is the original Virgin
I tried my best.
Canopy Tours.
Look how cute I am.
Brand new experience
A little roughed up. No makeup.
Only been open
18 months. Oh yeah. Be warned.
See, I was more natural there, right?
Wait, how do you tweet and zipline at the same time? The area is called Upper Johnson's Gut, but you'll probably just notice how lush and rich and green this place is.
Awesome.
The guides are great. They'll ease any inhibitions you may have during training. Well, they'll at least do their best. There's 7 zips, reaching up to 175 feet above the trees. Families are welcomed. The guides told me that they've even taken kids tandem as young as 3 years old. And just last week, a 6-year-old went across by himself. The last one? Whoa, it's the longest one. But man, that's worth it.
Let's move on to the third episode in this series. This one is 4 minutes and 10 seconds. We got a cold open. A cold open montage, people.
What if you can visit a restaurant where they literally pull out the food from the ocean right before you're served?
This was a cool moment. I'd never seen anything like this before. Trying to get all the angles. I think I did a good job of not giving like shaky video.
Does it get any fresher than this? That's the way it's done here at Big Bamboo on the secluded island of Anegada. Anegada is the northernmost of the British Virgin Islands, approximately 15 miles north of Virgin Gorda. The quickest way to get there is to charter a plane. And so we did, captained by Jeff. Who's awesome, maybe because he also plays the cello, barefoot, on the beach. On the way, we saw Sir Richard Branson's private plane. He has a private island on BVI. Shh, we're not supposed to take photos at the airport. Totally exclusive.
Welcome to Anegada, the place.
Girl, you need a mic.
Spanish. It's the only coral island in the Virgin Islands volcanic chain. Its highest point is just 28 feet above sea level. It's flat, remote, and perfect for water sports. But first, we gotta get to our beach via this safari jeep and our driver, Bob.
Let me tell you something about Anegada. Anegada is not just an island, it's a feeling, it's a vibration.
There's less than 300 residents here, and believe me, they all love it here.
Are you ready?
Yep. Today's lineup consists of paddleboarding.
Let's go! That is so pretty.
Snorkeling.
So I'm like in the middle of the ocean. Well, not really in the middle of the ocean. Gotta love this warm Caribbean waters.
And kite surfing.
Totally cool! Yes!
Anegada is the 4th largest barrier coral reef in the world. And that makes it great for kiteboarding.
That was so cool. You think we could do it?
I never did it. No, no way.
For extra bits of this trip.
Okay, episode 1, 2, and 3 of Beyond the Usual. Thank you for watching with me. I did recall the anxiety that I had and that I would have doing this on my own, and the anxiety was about having itinerary, having some ideas of knowing what I wanted to get from some of the experiences that they said we would have, but also not knowing what experience you will actually have, and developing the skill of run and gun style reporting and shooting. And that was baby Dayvee doing all of that on her first try. And it was more like a faking it till you make it situation, because even though I had the opportunity to create this into a program that I could distribute through Amazon Prime Video, I could have came back with nothing and tried another time. So it was more about the pressure that I think I felt on that trip was more about just trying to capture everything and seeing what we have and seeing if we make a story. And then the other takeaway I wanted to see before I let you guys go is to see if some of those places are still open. So of course we know the Baths and Cay at Beef Island, that is still open. I actually really want to go back there. I thought that place was so beautiful. I love places that have boulders. I just love boulders. And then we had the zip lining experience in Yep, so that was the original Virgin Canopy Tours. That is still open on Johnson's Gut in Tortola. And then, of course, we know that, yes, you can take a private jet to Anegada, and it is still that destination that the kiteboarders love to do. Next destination, next time, next video is going to be a journey to Hilton Head Island. And I start realizing how hard it is to be a one-woman show, so I hire a crew. Let's see how much more the video improves with an actual crew. I hope you'll join me. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.